everything that I will be saying. It's not necessarily like my information. I'm going to read everything here. So, mm, like today, to be honest, I have always been curious about Nigeria. Like, to be honest, like, it's something that I've been curious about for like many, many, many years. Okay, here's the thing, right? My knowledge of Nigeria comes from like my, let's say, my childhood, when I was, which is very common, right? Here in South Africa, like, it's common that when you grow up you watch a lot of like Nigerian dramas. It's normal. Like, we grew up watching things like Mr. Ibu, Oh My Son, like, Mama G, Mr. Ibu, Dada and more, right? And you know from the movies that you grew up watching about Nigerians, for example, um, my perspective of Nigeria was that, in Nigeria there are many wealthy people, which is true. There are many rich people in Nigeria, many, 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 many rich people, and people who make their living honestly, like from entertainment, because Nigeria has been like on top of the game when it comes to entertainment for like many years. Unlike South Africa, which, to be honest, because even today, the most Nigeria has many famous celebrities across the globe than South Africans. Like in South Africa, like our first celebrity to actually have like the international breakthrough, it was Tyler. All these years we didn't have like international celebrities. I think Tyler is the first one to really, really, really make it. But when it comes to, like, let's say, Nigerians have been like traveling abroad, like have been famous for like a decade, right? That's a fact. It's not even something that you can dispute or argue or even lie about. But then the question that I some like because the question that I ask myself when it comes to Nigeria is that I know that Nigeria is a country full of rich and wealthy people. But then why? Like, why do so many people still like struggle? I don't understand that part about Nigeria. Okay, I'm going to repeat what I said about Nigeria from the beginning, right? So, as a South African, right, when you grow up, right, we grew up like watching a lot of like Nigerian dramas, like many Nigerian dramas, like Beauty and the Beast, Oh My Son, Mr. Ibu. Ah, you don't see. Ah, it's okay, don't worry. It's okay. I'm recording this. I will upload it anyways. So I'm just like talking about like how first I'm gonna talk about like my perspective of Nigerians like growing up compared to like now. So when you watch like those kind of movies like Mr. Ibu and and also they had like many movies with like Iniedo. I remember Iniedo a lot because she was like my favorite actress. Like of all the Nigerian actresses, in Edo has always like been my favorite. But also I liked Dada and Mo. Dada and Mo, like, if you like Mr. Ibu, you'll also like Dada and Mo. Like, so that like when I grew up, like my perspective of Nigeria has always been like, it's I never like thought like even poverty was like a thing. Like if you really like grew up watching Nigerian movies, you wouldn't think like there is even poverty, like no, because like what they depict in like the dramas, they always like depicted like rich people. I know like it's a drama, but then like the reality is that sometimes when you watch dramas sometimes they reflect the reality of countries. It might not be like exactly like that, but it does have like dramas, they do reflect the realities of many communities. And that's why like when I was growing up, like to be honest, when I was growing up, like my dream destination was Nigeria. I do remember like when I was like high school, I'm like the first country that I'm gonna visit will definitely be Nigeria. Unfortunately, I've never been to Nigeria, but then I lived in South Korea and I lived in Thailand. Maybe someday I will visit Nigeria. But then when you get older, right? When you get older, perspectives change. Really, like perspectives change when you get older. Because even things like Boko Haram, for example, you would hear about them like, in passing, people will talk about, oh, there are children kidnapped in Nigeria. And then because it's like when you grow up, you don't really like pay attention to those kind of issues. And but then until like I was in like university, and then like I could actually watch the news, and then I realized like, oh no, Nigeria is not like what I thought it was, like based on like Nollywood dramas. Because if you like seriously, if you grew up watching Nollywood dramas, like those, I will always reference in Edo because like she's the person that I won't forget. Like those dramas of in Edo of like beautiful Nigerian women like in their weaves, like dressed nicely, big cars, big houses. You wouldn't think like bad things are happening in Nigeria, or like there are real crises in Nigeria. Like growing up, I never thought even like I didn't think about it honestly. I think this is something that maybe many South Africans think like, because when you watch the Nigerian dramas, you won't think like, there are things like bad things in Nigeria and things like that. You always think like, oh, Nigeria is a cool country. You always think like Nigeria is a cool country. Nigerians like they are hardworking, they are business people and things like this is the perspective that I had growing up. I like this is to be honest like this is how I saw Nigeria and Nigerians when I was growing up until like until before maybe like few years ago when the drugs issues started like spreading across South Africa, and then you know it is just said that unfortunately this is what's happening in South Africa. I feel like it is a sad for me. I feel like that's why one of the main reason like sometimes when I think about like Nigeria, like I get angry because just imagine you grow up, you have this beautiful picture about a country and the people. Talking shit by own won't get you crowd. See comments as well. Talking shit by own. I don't understand what you're saying. Okay, so like I had like this beautiful picture of Nigeria. I still do, and like I still do have a beautiful picture of Nigeria. It is just that um I do actually. I really do have a beautiful picture of Nigeria or Nigerian people as a whole because like I'm a reasonable person. I understand that in as much as my country, South Africa, has experienced like the worst Nigerians, I know that there are good Nigerians across the globe. I mean, like I watch football. You see most best African players like in La Liga, for example, they're Nigerians. And like most the best musicians in Africa are Nigerians. And that has always been like the case. Like you can think about from the beginning things like thank you. Like like artists like P Square, like if you like chop my money, like that's how like that's the perspective that I had. And I know for it's like I'm not denial. I know that many Nigerians are are not rich, but like there are more successful Nigerians in the entertainment than South Africans or even any other African country, to be quite honest. Because Nigerians are the first people to have like the international break. I mean, true, but then like, but then you do get like some sort of like a reflection. Like you do get some. I know like okay, television is not the reality. Yes, that is true. But you do have like a feeling that some of the depiction they do reflect the reality one way or another. one way or another, especially let's say the lifestyle. Let's say the lifestyle, because if someone is going to write a script and then about like the lifestyle of people, they of course take that from like the real, like real life, like real life. I don't know. Yes, I agree that television is not the reality. It isn't. That is true. But then, okay, I was talking about like my previous perspective of or my previous picture of Nigeria, which I still do hold, to be quite honest. But at the same time, when it comes to like Nigerians living in South Africa, it's a different story for me, because I know not all of them are bad people. I know like not all of them are bad people, but unfortunately, I know like it's true. Like it's not even like about, I mean, it's just a fact, right? It's impossible that like all people can be bad. Like it's illogical. It's illogical thinking. But I think the frustration that I get from like my fellow South Africans is that many crimes didn't exist in South Africa until Nigerians came, especially things like drugs. I understand that Nigerians didn't invent drugs. Like we know that drugs are things like Mexican people thing, like the cartels. That's where drugs, we can say, come from. But I think what is said is like is the fact that Nigerians allowed to be used by the Mexican cartels to bring drugs in South Africa. I think that is the most painful part, because remember, Nigerians are like, they're our brothers and sisters, they are our fellow people. So for them to allow like Hispanic to use them to bring things that they know would ruin the community and the people of South Africa, it is something that can make you angry, as if like you are truly like a Pan-Africanist. That we say we are Pan-Africanist, but then why are you not angry that our own African people, like they brought things that ruined the people, like other fellow Africans? Because okay, someone can argue that okay, the Nigerians didn't like force. I understand there is an issue with some immigrants in South Africa, but there is also racial issues between Boers and Black Africans that need to be addressed. I do agree with that one. I'm not disputing that. And I feel like that is something that many people like they talk about now. And one thing that I feel like people are kind of let's say Africans, let me not say people actually. Okay, one thing that fellow Africans or fellow black people are missing in this whole situation is that when our fellow African people, so when our fellow African people migrate to South Africa, for example, they integrate in like black people's communities, right? And they do the same businesses that many black people relied on like to survive. And it's more like they use the same clinics, like public clinics that black South Africans use. They use the same public schools that black South Africans use, right? And the issue is not them having access or free access to those things. The issue is that we do not like the country, South Africa as a country, right, doesn't have enough resources like clinics. We don't have like many clinics where you can say, oh, okay, yeah, some fellow Africans will go there, other fellow Africans will go over there. That's the issue. It's like you find, let's say, clinic in a community, for right? So you find that in a community, right, there is like one clinic. It's like one clinic already, like black people living in that community, like they are struggling to have like adequate access to that clinic. So can you imagine that like you have like one clinic in a community, one, there is one clinic in a community, and now you have many other Africans now are coming because they go to those communities with like one clinic. They don't go to like, let's say, most white dominated areas. The population is all it is small, but black dominated areas, the population is already big. The population is already big. So they go to those areas, like let's say that black communities area. right? With one clinic. Already black people, black South Africans were fighting for that one clinic. So now imagine like we have one clinic that black South Africans are fighting amongst each other, and then now we have more Africans who are going to fight for that one clinic. Is that logical? It's not logical. Of course, people are going to, at some point, people are going to say, okay, no, enough is enough. It's the same with public schools. Like, I don't blame Africans and I don't blame South Africans. What I'm trying to say is that the main problem is our government, because our government is the one that allows fellow Africans to keep migrating in South Africa, right? So our government was supposed to like build many schools, build many clinics, but our government doesn't do that. They just open the borders. They say everyone must come without clinics, without schools. It's a public school. Like I told you, in my town, there is like, we have one primary, wait, close to my house, we have like one primary school where I went to. There's another primary school like in a different area, for example. So now we have like one, two, three schools, public schools. Already in those public schools, amongst fellow South Africans, there is space constraints. And then now you are going to add other fellow Africans on top of like a problem. And then what do you think is going to happen? Like the problems are just going to pile up, pile up, pile up. And people are going to be frustrated. That's the issue. People are going to be frustrated. It's not like people are saying, oh, I don't like African people. Oh, African people must go. No, people are simply saying, guys, we don't have resources. And whose fault is that? It's the government. It's not like you cannot even blame fellow South Africans at this point. Because as a citizen, right, living in my own country, I want to take my child to school, for example. Or if I'm sick, I want to go to the clinic. Like, let's say the elderly people, we have old people, right? We have old people. Old people, when they go to clinics, they need to be prioritized. But then there is, okay, here's the thing, right? I do feel sorry for like the bad governance of like African countries, especially I would say my neighboring country, which is Zimbabwe. Like it is painful that there aren't like adequate or good clinics where women can give birth, right? I get it. But then now we have our fellow Africans, let's say Zimbabweans in this case, who come to give birth in South Africa most of the time, right? Those clinics, for example, those beds, for example. Oh, thank you. Those beds, for example, like clinics, right now we have like old people, old people with sugar diabetes and stroke, or those kind of like old age illnesses. Now they have to queue, like long queues in clinics. Old people, old people, because now we have to like accommodate our fellow Africans to give birth or to seek. It's like, for me, I'm like, if these things, if we had enough resources, right? Like I'm telling you, no one would complain. No one would even care that they are like Africans in South Africa. No one will. I wouldn't care either. I wouldn't. So the issue is like, you can imagine 32 years of democracy. The South African government has never built a school, never. There is no new school. The schools are still the very same way that I think they were built by the Boers, the like the apartheid people. Like nothing has changed. Like our government hasn't changed nothing. And another thing that I think pains South African is like, now when you go to clinics or you go to hospitals, it's like everything is like it doesn't work. Literally, like I just flew into South Africa just like few days ago, like 2 nights ago, right from Thailand. The first thing that I saw at the airport or at Tambo Airport, like it was very, very, very like infuriating, because you see the government every year they will tell you about budgets, like, oh, we have budgets for school, we have budgets for this, but then nothing has been improved. You even the international airport of South Africa is old, like old. I saw a video of Fikile Mbalula, like the former minister of police. He mentioned like how Ethiopians are sneaked in South Africa through the walls. I don't even know how to explain that, because he was struggling to explain how these people that they enter South Africa, and why it is difficult for like the government to really tackle the issue of illegal immigration, right? So that is the main issue. You understand? So that is the main issue. One thing I can say, and I will emphasize, and I will, me personally, so I do not believe that South Africans have anything against their fellow. Like honestly, like they don't. Like that's just the truth. Like no, they don't. Like South Africans don't hate Nigerians. They don't. Like why? In fact, like I feel like one thing that infuriates South Africans the most when it comes to Nigerians is that people need to understand something about Nigeria. Nigeria is a wealthy country. That country is wealthy. Like, actually, I need to read it here. Like, Nigeria is a wealthy African country. Of all the African countries here in Africa, the wealthiest country is Nigeria. Nigeria is very wealthy. So, to see many, like, let's say, to see many Nigerians, for example, like migrating because of economic reasons, it's something that like it is infuriating for me, and it is infuriating for South Africans, because in our heads, if in my head also, I expect Nigeria to be like the most developed, I mean, African country. That is my mind right now. Like Nigeria should be like in the same level as as China. Like it is the country that has the capability to be on the same level as China, because when you when you learn about Nigerians as an academic, right? When you learn about Nigerians, this is something that I learned recently about Nigerians while studying my dissertation. I learned that most of like fintech, like the fintech developments in Europe, they were brought by Nigerians. Those ideas of like this modern fintech things, the idea was brought by Nigerians. The most talented footballers in Africa, Nigerians. The most best singers in Africa, Nigerians. The most wealthiest men in Africa, Nigerians. So do you see like that Nigeria is a country, they have it all. Like they have it all, Nigerians. Nigerians like they have it all, but then you ask yourself, but then why? Why do we still have like the issues that we are having in Nigeria? It doesn't make sense. Like it doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't. Nigeria has number one African artists or entertainers. Number one in Africa. Number one. Two, in sports, Nigeria takes number one. Not just in football, also athletics. You know, I think right now I think the fastest uh woman athlete is a Nigerian lady. I don't know how to say her name, but she's Nigerian. The best footballers in Europe today, Nigerians are in that list. The most richest man in Africa is Nigeria, and like that, I think the top five of richest people in Africa, it is occupied by Nigeria. Nigeria are very wealthy, very. But then, why are they still having the problems that they are having? It doesn't make sense. Do I think is a cultural issue? Like Nigerian culture isn't compatible with South Africa. It's not culture, no. Definitely not culture. Definitely not culture. Do you know why I say it's not culture? Because um, you know, it's definitely culture, no. Culture, no. The issue with Nigerians in South Africa, I just want to be clear that in South Africa is that, I'm quoting this from a fellow Nigerian. There is this one Nigerian who once said, like, you know, South Africa is the country in the world that has experienced the worst Nigerians. It's not about the culture, because it's not the issue of the culture with Nigerians. Yeah, because you cannot say like drugs and human trafficking are culture. Those are not culture. It's not culture. It's just people being greedy and selfish, you know? You. So I wouldn't say culture. Definitely not culture. Because the Nigerian culture is beautiful. Like that's just the thing. It's like they sing well, they have good dramas. Um like I don't know, it's not the culture. And now it's even like frustrating me because these Nigerians, they are depriving us their culture in South Africa because they don't bring culture here. They bring only like things that are not aligned with their culture. Because they have beautiful culture, those people. Like literally, they have beautiful culture. You have to watch like the rural Nigerian movies. You know the rural Nigerian movies. You must see like how Nigerians dress, like the rural, not like the city, the rural. Like you need to see to like see how they dress, like how they dress and like how they dance. They have beautiful culture. It's not the culture. It's not the issue of culture. It's behavior. Maybe we can say behavior is the behavior. The culture, no. Nigerians have, if Nigerians came to South Africa with their culture, I think Africa would be the best country in the world because it would mean that, for example, it would be beautiful actually. I can imagine like Nigerians like bringing their culture in South Africa. That would be really beautiful. I mean, like for many South Africans who grew up watching like Nigerian dramas would also feel honored to like experience that Nigerian culture personally because like I've never experienced Nigerian culture. Never. I think it will be really, really, really beautiful. Because for example, in South Africa, like heritage is very important. Like heritage is something that is very important. You could imagine, let's say for because let me tell you something, right? In Thailand, for example, Thailand and like China, they've like a very good relationship, right? So like there is a there is like a Chinese day, for example. So on that day, like that day is celebrated in Thailand. Like you see like people dressed like in Chinese culture and like that, and it's beautiful. If we had that kind of relationship with Nigeria, where like they brought like their culture in South Africa, I think it would be quite interesting, like especially during Heritage Day, like on Heritage Day. I think it would be fun to have that kind of experience. Culture, no, not culture. Nigerians haven't brought their culture in South Africa yet. Not culture. We no. Like because for example, all let's say all African people, we are very like cultural and we love our cultures. I think it would be fun for like to have good Nigerians who bring their culture. Maybe. Maybe in the future. Now I don't think we do have. No, it's not. Like that, it's that you see this is the problem that we're experiencing in South Africa because we're experiencing like the bad side of like the Nigerians here. You even forget that like Nigerian people have beautiful culture. They have beautiful culture. Those people like they sing and dance. That's what I'm saying. I'm recommending like their movies. They have like these good village movies where they will sometimes sing and dance. Very very good. So it's not the issue is not the issue is not culture. The issue is behavior. The behavior and crime. That's all. The behavior and crime. That's the only issue that I can say. But culture, no. Because I feel like we're all cultural people and we love culture. So if we were to have like, because what do they call? I forgot. In Asia, right? They have like it's like culture exchange thing. I forgot like Thailand, especially Thailand and China, they have like this thing called culture exchange. Like it's like they celebrate each other, which is very beautiful. It's beautiful to see countries celebrate each other's culture, but we don't have that. Behavior, let's talk about, for example, that man. I don't know if he's a real king or not, who said like he's a king of Eastern Cape there. You see, like that is not culture. No, that is not culture. That is someone who maybe saw the loophole, or how maybe the people in the Eastern Cape were weak and tried to take advantage, but then it backfired. That person was just testing the waters. That is not culture. That wasn't culture. Culture, no. Nigerians, if we have good Nigerians in South Africa who bring their culture, I'm telling you, we would get along easily, because we both have beautiful cultures and interesting cultures, and food as well. You could imagine, right? Let me tell you this, right? Like, I feel like living in Asia made me realize so many things. Like, you can imagine this, right? In South Africa, let's say here in South Africa, right? We have like Nigerian restaurants, because this is what they do in Asia. For example, you go to Thailand. In Thailand, you'll find like Chinese restaurants, Korean restaurants. I think that that's fun. But here in South Africa, we don't have that. We don't have that in South Africa. We don't. So the issue again is not the culture, because Nigerians, they don't bring us their food here, you know. It would be nice, like, I think it would be nice, like, having like a Nigerian restaurant where you can go and like eat Nigerian food. It's but then, do you see how selfish Nigerians are? Nigerians have restaurants in the USA, but they don't have restaurants in South Africa. I'm telling you, they will never bring us good things here. They don't bring us their culture. They don't bring us their food. They don't even bring us their best everything. They just bring us everything that is negative. Just imagine, like a Nigerian restaurant would be interesting. I would like to try Nigerian food also. Okay, so now I will go to the difference, the difference between Nigeria and South Africa. So, wait, what is my thumbnail again? The difference, like, which is the best country in Africa between Nigeria and South Africa? I think both countries are the best in their own ways, honestly. I think that's how I'll conclude it. Both countries are the best in their own ways. The issue is the behavior of certain people. Both countries are the best. Literally, both Nigeria and South Africa are, I mean, all African countries are best countries, literally. The issue that we have amongst Africans is the behavior. Like, we are very, very ill behaved. Many, and especially Nigerians. I have to call you out. I'm sorry, because I lived in Thailand for a year. I've never read or saw the news that a South African or a Congolese or a Kenyan or a Ghanaian was caught selling drugs or was caught doing these romance scams. But I have read the news in Thailand and saw it with my own eyes that Nigerians, one pastor is a Nigerian pastor, fake Nigerian pastor. He was caught with drugs in Thailand. And a group of young men who were caught doing the romance scams in Thailand. You see, it's the behavior. And it is now it's sad, because when the world look at these things, they don't just say, oh, it's Nigerian people only, it's African, because we are all Africans. So I just hope that when Nigerians travel, they should behave themselves. But nonetheless, I think all African countries are good or the best in their own ways, especially for the fact that we all have like minerals. The issue is the behavior. I wish Nigerians could really improve when it comes to their behavior. The behavior is not right. The behavior, you cannot go to people's country and sell drugs, let alone Asia, guys, let alone Asia. You know, everyone knows that when it comes to drugs in Asia, it's serious, especially Thailand. You cannot go to Thailand and sell drugs. It's not right. It's not right. You cannot do that. You cannot go to Thailand and scam people. It's not right. It's not right. And I feel like one thing that is infuriating about fellow Nigerians sometimes is that fellow Nigerians don't call out each other for wrongdoings. Instead, they try to be defensive or to justify it somehow. Because that fake pastor who was caught selling drugs in Thailand, I've seen the comments. like coming from fellow Nigerians, they'll say things like, he was hustling, he was trying to leave. And I'm like, seriously, guys, like, it's it's another country. You cannot do that, especially it's another country. And that man was crying. I think you need to see the video. That man was crying, like he was crying to be sent home. He was crying that he should be sent home. He was crying. But again, whose fault is it? It is his fault, because you cannot sell drugs in other people's country. It's wrong, guys. Like drugs, human trafficking. Like sometimes we just have to like. I feel like the day Nigerians, right, for example, many, because today I do see some Nigerians coming out and like really like assessing what's happening in South Africa, like reasonably, without being like sensitive about the situations, without being biased, without following propaganda. I've seen like some Nigerians really like assess the situation like from a perspective of maturity. And it's good to see that part, to be honest. It's good to see that, because it can we can say like perhaps maybe we are getting into something, right? That we do have some fellow Nigerians today who come out and like call out their own fellow Nigerians for doing bad things in other people's countries, not just in South Africa, even in other countries. Because oh, I saw even another video of like a fellow Nigerians talking about like some Nigerians misbehaving in Japan, and she was like, and that's what I'm saying. Like amongst Nigerians, they need to have like conversations, because you guys are destroying the image of like your own people who want to live abroad and try to live honestly. Because if you do, let's say as a black person, as a South African, if I had committed a crime in South Korea, it wasn't going to be like, oh, it's legitimate. It was going to be like South Africans are like this. It's just how people are conditioned or how people operate. So that's why when we live abroad, that I feel like maybe, and I feel like there is this misconception amongst Africans, especially like, okay, let me say Africans, that South Africans don't travel. South Africans travel, and we live abroad. I have lived abroad for like 2 years, over 2 years actually. But we don't commit crime, because you understand that when you commit a crime, it's going to affect not just you as an individual, but the people where you come from, even your entire race. Your entire race. It's the same thing that you see that is happening with like let's say the Muslims, for example. Now in um now in the UK, for example, there is this propaganda against like Muslim people, that oh, Muslim people are rapists, but that is not true, right? That is not true. But do you know why they say that? Because they've had like several cases of Muslim raping like their children there. So now they're just putting everyone in the box, even the innocent Muslim men. Now they have to face the drum of actions that they didn't commit, which is that's what I'm saying. Like when you live in another country as an African or as a Nigerian or as a South African, you have to really like think carefully about your actions, because your actions will not only affect you as an individual, will affect your country, the people from your country, your race. I will tell you actually another thing is like the let's say in Thailand right now there is an issue. There was an issue with Indians in Thailand. Like there was an issue with Indians. Many Indians like moved to Thailand like in large numbers, because they had like I think free visa, and the issue was that like these Indians, they sleep like on the beaches in Thailand, right? They sleep on the beaches. They shower there by the like in the sea. So of course Thai people are not used to that. They raised the issue. The Thai people raised the issue, and I remember it was addressed. The issue was addressed of Indians sleeping on the beaches. So it's and then from those several Indians who like behaved in that manner, it kind of made all Indians look bad. But mind you, who was sleeping on the beach? It were like few Indian men, just a few Indian men who showered in the beach. Just a few Indian men. But then when the issue was raised, it wasn't just about those few men on the beach. It was about like Indians, which is it's not right. But like I said, that's how people are conditioned behavior. So um, again, both countries are good in their own ways. All countries, I mean, both countries are good in their own ways. Actually, I want to see this like Nigeria versus South Africa, key differences, population versus development model. The population of Nigeria is very big. It is very big. 200 plus million people. That is a very big population. Very young population, huge informal economy, street trading, small businesses. Hmm. And South Africa, we have like approximately 60 million people, more industrialized economy, more formal jobs, and stronger infrastructure base. So what I'm reading here reads Nigeria is bigger in people, South Africa is more structured in systems. But this is funny also because, like I said, right, when you do research, I mean, if you're an academic in South Africa, and then let's say I specialize in fintech, for example, but then I studied law, right? You cannot do a research as a South African and not reference a Nigerian scholar. It's impossible. It is highly impossible. It is highly impossible as a South African to do a thesis, to write a thesis and not reference a Nigerian scholar. It's highly impossible, which makes it again infuriating. Like Nigeria has like I don't know. It's quite a complex country, to be honest. It is quite a complex country because it doesn't make sense that South Africa is more structured in systems than Nigeria. But then when we write thesis, when we do research, I say, yo, I just arrived, so what's going on? No, no, no. I was just trying to compare like Nigeria with South Africa. And like the information that I got online, it is quite interesting, honestly. Like when you think about like the economy of Nigeria here, they say Nigeria oil and gas dominate revenue, which is a fact. It's true. We've seen this when the Middle East war broke, and then fast growing tech. I've said this, or startup sector. I've said this before that what's quite interesting about Nigeria is that when you learn about the fintech that you guys are seeing in especially the UK, the fintech in the UK. I say drama is coming. I people need to stop being dramatic. People need to stop being dramatic and speak the truth, because the economy of Nigeria is big, which doesn't make sense why its people must suffer, and especially when it comes to like public services, it doesn't make sense why they don't have like proper schools, why they don't have like better healthcare. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because like the country is wealthy. It is wealthy, and the country has many business people. So the issue here reads like high inequality. The issue with Nigeria is high inequality. So they say wealth concentrated in few hands. And this is very interesting because Nigerians, or let's say Africans in general, Africans are more, I mean, The economy, our economy is bigger than Nigeria. I don't think so. Really. But from what I'm reading here, it isn't. Here it is saying otherwise. Oh, I was saying that like one thing that is infuriating about like Nigerians is this, right? So Nigerians always say white people are the masters of Black South Africans, but here I'm reading like I said, like I mean it's a fact. Nigeria has many wealthy people. Even the wealthiest man in Africa is Nigerian. But here's the thing: the wealth in Nigeria also is concentrated where in few hands, like few people are wealthy in Nigeria. So meaning like the situation of Nigeria and South Africa is the same because majority of the wealth in South Africa, right, it is concentrated in what? In few hands, mostly white people. In Nigeria, few hands, mostly black people. But then now let's talk about the livelihoods of people, right? So the wealth of South Africa is in the hands of white people. But then the livelihood of South Africa or the lifestyle or the benefits of being a South Africans are better than the benefits of Nigeria. Mind you, Nigerian black people hold most of the economy of Nigeria. So what does that tell you? Does it mean like black people hate each other? Because we have the wealth in the hands of black people. Why aren't they developing their own facilities or their own people? Because in South Africa, we have the wealth in the hands of white people, but we have seen like white people contribute in like, uplifting the lives of black people. But then in Nigeria, it's the contrary. Makes you wonder if it matters who carries the wealth of the country because they are rich, but they're not even helping their own people. Here in South Africa, white people are rich, but they do contribute in the livelihoods of black South Africans. They do. Like we can argue about many things with regard to white people, but you cannot deny that, with them in South Africa, we have been able to have better opportunities, not just in South Africa, but also abroad, you know, even abroad. So yeah, we know we don't have the wealth and stuff. Only yeah, we know we don't have the wealth and stuff. Only white people do. But at the end of the day, the rent is doing. That's one thing I'm saying. Like for me, it is just illogical. It's just illogical. It doesn't. It's true. What you're saying there is a fact. It is a fact actually. It makes me wonder like why people are richer in South Africa. They are richer than black people, but black people in South Africa live better than Nigerian people. But in Nigeria, black people are the richest, in fact, are the richest. So why aren't the black people, the richest black people in Nigeria, helping their fellow black people? And this also brings to the argument about Pan-Africanism that Pan-Africanism should be visible in countries like Nigeria because the wealth there is just the wealth is controlled by black people in Nigeria. So meaning that Pan-Africanism must start there. We must see with like those black leaders uplifting the lives of their fellow black Nigerians. And we'll be like, that's Pan-Africanism. I feel like that's the logical way to perceive Pan-Africanism. Because we have a government, right? We have the economy in Nigeria that it is fully controlled by black people, right? So we should expect to see Nigerians live better than South Africans because in South Africa, the economy is not controlled by black people. But then that's not the reality. The reality is that South Africans live better than Nigerians who actually are in charge of their own economy. Something doesn't make sense about African people, trust me. Okay, they say South Africa, it has more diversified. So Nigeria has what people call black gold, which is oil, but they are struggling. It doesn't make sense still. Like why are they struggling? Literally, why are they struggling? And another thing that you have to like note about Nigerians is when it comes to tech, right? When it comes to tech in Africa, Nigerians are like on top. When it comes to tech, I'm being honest this one because as I'm speaking as an academic. As an academic, when it comes to tech, especially fintech, trust me, Nigerians like are on top of the game. That's why many of them like have moved to Dubai because Dubai is quite famous for like fintech. UK also, European countries, they are quite famous for fintech. Like they contribute like greatly when it comes to fintech, but it still makes you wonder like with all those intelligent people in Nigeria, why is the country still in the condition that it is? It doesn't, for me, it's like it doesn't make sense. Like Nigeria has everything, literally. That country has like everything. They have entertainment, they have oil, they have tech, like they have everything. But then why are their people behaving the way they behave when they go to other people's country? Sometimes I do wonder. I don't get it. So we have okay, South Africa we have mining, finance, manufacturing, agriculture, services. Oh, strong banking and corporate sector. That is true. We do have strong banking and corporate sector. You know what is funny? When the funniest thing that I saw, which is something that I feel like many Africans sometimes we are not that educated to understand how the financial systems function. What Nigerian lacks is infrastructure. Okay, we do have infrastructure. That is true. That is true. Oh, so I was on like strong banking and corporate sector. When like this xenophobia propaganda like broke out, right? I remember like some Nigerians and Ghanaians saying like, "Oh, South Africans companies must like leave our country," and I'm like, sometimes education is important. These people don't understand that they need FNB, which is RMB, the RMB part to transact internationally. Because when it comes to the financial system is very complex. The financial system is very, very complex. That's why you see countries like the United States, they are able to sanction other countries that they don't like, and then you ask yourself, how can they do that? It's because they're in charge of the financial system, right? And then how like it's a complex topic, that one. And South Africa has a leverage when it comes to African countries, when it comes to foreign exchange. When it comes to foreign exchange, South Africa has a leverage. I forgot what it is called, but I studied it like briefly, like when I was doing some research, that for 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 Nigeria to be able to transact like globally, they need RMB, like which is part of FNB. They need RMB. That's the only way they can transact like internationally. They can trade. That's how they can trade internationally. It's the same thing. Let's say Zimbabwe, for example. Zimbabwe cannot like trade. I don't know if their sanctions have been uplifted or not. But for the one of the main reason the Zimbabwe's economy collapsed was because of the sanctions imposed by the United States and the UK when they took their lands back from the white people. They were sanctioned. Yeah, I know it's unfair. It's unfair that Zimbabwe was sanctioned for taking what belonged to them. But that's just the reality of the financial system. It's the same thing that happened to Iran. It's the same thing that happened to Cuba. Like if the US and the UK, so the US sanctions you, there are different types of sanctions, but the worst part is when the UK or the European Union, they remove you from the SWIFT um, process. It means if you don't have swift access, it means like the country cannot trade globally. It can't. So that is another issue that fellow Africans don't understand, that in Africa right now, the country with the right, I would say, system that allows to trade like global is South Africa through RMB, which is part of FNB. So without RMB, it means Nigeria won't be able to trade globally. If Nigerians were to, like, let's say they say we don't want FNB in our country tomorrow, it would affect like them gravely. It will really, 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 really affect their economy. Very, very, very. It will hit them hard. Yes, 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 yes. Some people they don't understand that it's unfair, right? I do understand like how the financial system works globally is unfair, but it's just the reality. It's just the reality. The country with the most power will always control the economy of the world and will always control who should participate in the global trade. That's how it functions, unfortunately. That's how it functions. They will always, uh, I mean, things will always be like that. It will, but unless if, for example, but it's impossible, right? It's highly impossible to collapse dollar. I know it is something that people have been recently talking about that the dollar will collapse, but it's not easy to collapse like a currency and replace it with another currency. It is something that takes like centuries. In as much as we see the yuan, which is the Chinese currency, making strides and thriving, to collapse dollar altogether, it is not something easy. And I will repeat this again, right? The way the financial system is built, right? The way the financial system is built, it's very complex. It is very, very complex, very complex. And another thing that maybe fellow Africans they don't understand when it comes to South Africa is that, like you guys, you always say, majority of the economy in South Africa is controlled by the white people, right? And the white people, remember, they are buddy buddies with the Europeans. We are all Africans. I mean, that is true. We are all Africans, right? So the 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 yeah, like dollar won't be easy to collapse. It won't be easy to collapse it, but yes, over like recently it has been deteriorating. That is true. Like it has been getting weak, but it is not yet weak where you can say like, okay, now we are entering the new age of the new world order. Not yet. We are not yet there. It's possible, right? It is possible to collapse dollar, to be honest. It's possible, but it is not something that's going to be easy to do or to happen. To be honest, it is not easy. It is not going to be easy, because you see with, like, let's say BRICS, for example. There have been rumors that BRICS are trying to create their own currency which will be backed by the gold. We don't even know how that is going to go about, because like I said, geopolitics are quite complex, especially when it comes to the financial system, because even the Europeans, they won't allow the dollar to collapse, because if the dollar collapse, it will affect the Europe a lot. It will affect Europe a lot if the dollar collapse. So it's not easy. It is not easy. So sometimes I feel like fellow Africans could educate themselves about financial systems. If you guys are saying South Africa must go, I mean South African companies must get out of our country, that's when that will be the day your country will collapse. You'll understand the economic crisis that Zimbabwe suffered, because these people they don't understand basic things. Are you a financial analyst or something? No, 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 no. I study law. I study law. Zimbabwe's economy is growing so fast. I'm scared for South Africa. Don't be scared for South Africa. South Africa is will always remain stable. I'm not scared about the South African economy. I'm just scared about how to really get rid of syndicates, drugs, um, corruption. That's the only thing. But when it comes to the economy of South Africa, it will never collapse, because the economy of South Africa, it is not under ANC, and I feel like this is something that people sometimes misunderstand. ANC is not in charge of the South African economy. The South African economy, it is in charge. And also, what's another thing, Kevin, is that You are saying right now that Zimbabwe's economy is growing so fast. I'm scared for South. Okay, don't be scared for South Africa, but I'm happy that the Zimbabwe's economy is growing so fast. But when you say it is growing so fast, now let's go back to what you guys have been shaming South Africa about. You have been saying, "Oh, South Africans they don't own their own land. Oh, white people own the South African land." But did you see what recently happened in Zimbabwe? Zimbabwe just gave back the lands that they initially took, which is their land basically, or it's the white people's land. I don't know who owns those lands anymore. They recently gave back those lands back to the white people. Your own country that has been shaming South Africa for years and years and years and years of not owning land. It has given back the land that it had initially. So you are growing, but it's like you're growing backwards in a way. But I cannot say it's backwards because let me be honest, people can race different races can coexist. At some point we can just accept that what we live with other people, and we live with Europeans, I suppose, West people. You may not like their civilization. Personally, so I don't like the Western civilization because it is it is not a good civilization, honestly, because I feel like it makes them richer while it keeps Africa poor. Because we have been poor for what, since I don't know, for centuries now. We have been poor for centuries now, and we are not improving at all. We are not. Like, we remain poor. We become criminals because of poverty, I suppose, or some people they can say it's an excuse. We our education is still poor and we're still behind, and let me tell you something. If you live like in Asia, an Asian country, because let me tell you about South Korea, for example. Having lived in South Korea, I realized like how behind we are as like South Africans and Africans as a whole. We are so behind. Like, people like in other countries, you know like, people don't use cash in other countries anymore. Do you know that? Like, people don't use cash. No, like, it's cardless countries. In SAD, the South. The South African economy is just, it's the thing that will like hold the South African economy is this. Let me read it for you. The strong banking and corporate sector, because banking and corporate sector controls the economy of the world, and South Africa is the only country in Africa which has that strong banking sector. Cyber cash. They use cyber. No, what do they use? It's they use like for me, I don't understand how they circulate the money, especially in China. But I know, like, in China, for example, China is, it's a crazy country. That country is so developed. That country is amazing. But then there are places where they don't take cash at all. They don't. It's like it's a cashless. But there are places where they take cash, but most of the places they don't take cash. China is so developed that they have like like store, like they have like shops where people don't work. Like, you have like a card, like you have a card where you tap like outside, and then the shop opens, and then you buy whatever that you buy, and then you scan, and then you scan, and then you take whatever that you bought, and then you leave without cashier. They have those kind of stores in China. It's crazy. That country is insane. Like, that country is so developed. China is in its own league. It's crazy. And the worst part in China is, like, even with that kind of advancement, it is still cheaper. Like, living there is still cheaper. Yo, China, no, that country's like, China is the most developed country in the world right now. I know the West is denial, but the reality will soon catch up with them. China is very developed. Like they have things that you don't even think you need, but they have those things. It's crazy. Like for me, like I feel like the one thing that really I see the driverless cars, right? Even like okay, driverless cars they exist like now even in the US. Like the driverless cars, like the car that drive itself without anyone driving. It's crazy. Like when I saw that, I'm like, yo, these people are insane. And look at us here in Africa. We are still fighting about immigration and drugs. People are talking about, driverless cars, cashless societies, you know, fintech. But here we are, still behind. We are always be Africa is always behind, 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 behind. Because our people don't want to be educated. They just want, I don't know. Our people don't want to be educated. They just want easy way to make millions. And that's our reality, I think, as African people. We don't want to be developed, honestly. Because you can see, for me, it's like you can see even with other Africans, you get the opportunity, right, to live abroad, to make something out of living abroad. And then a person will somehow end up in crimes, drugs. Like you went there to better your life. How did you get yourself involved in like criminality? That's something like we just I don't know. For me, sometimes I wonder like why are we always behind? Like Africa is always behind with everything. Everything. We still don't have cars. Can you imagine? Let me tell you, in Asia, China China has their own cars. Japan has its own cars. Sorry, China has its own cars. Japan has its own cars. South Korea has its own cars. India has its own car. I think Mahindra and another. Mm, I'm not sure about Thailand if they have their own car. I think they do. Maybe I think they do. Singapore, I think they also have their own car. Like this, I'm talking about countries that they don't even have uh, minerals to build cars. They have cars, speed trains. In South Korea, the How train. How train in South Africa, right? In South Korea, they have like how train, for example, like subway. Their subway connects all the cities across the country. For example, if I live in Limpopo, like let's say I live in Limpopo. If I am from Limpopo, right, and then in South Korea, it's like this. You are from Limpopo. You can get a train from Limpopo. It will bring you to Johannesburg, but there are like connection. It's not like one way. There is like like the center like the center of South Africa is Gauteng, right? So that means if I want to go to Durban, right, the train, the way they structured or designed it in South Korea, the train will take me from Limpopo, and then I will connect maybe somewhere in Polokwane with another train that goes to from Polokwane, or maybe Tzanini. Let's say Tzanini and then Polokwane, and then from Polokwane, and then it brings me to the center of South Africa. And then from the center of South Africa, I connect another train, and then it takes me to like Durban. That's how it is there. And guess what? It is cheaper. Like literally, it is very cheap. Very, very cheap. Like it's easy. People they travel across the country like it's easy for Koreans. Like today I can be in Seoul, tomorrow I can go to Busan by train, and it's so and no, I'm not talking about the train that looks scary, okay? Advanced, baby, technology. The technology there is like superb. You like we have like they have the reason why Africa is behind is because we are still colonized by Europe. They are sucking our minerals and corrupt our leaders. I mean, that one I do agree, honestly. At some point, we have to have that kind of conversation. Let me tell you about South Korea. And then, you know, like in South Korea, let's say this is an apartment, right? I'm living in this apartment, right? Under like the first floor, they have a convenience store, baby, at two. Because for me, like I work like okay, I was a teacher in South Korea, but I also had like an online business, so I didn't sleep a lot. So I would Yeah, you're right. Now we're not going to reach that one anytime soon. I'm not joking. That kind of development in South Korea and like China is ahead. China is like in its own league. South Korea is like South Korea is developed like in a very very good way. It's that country really impressed me. I don't want to lie. So like at the ground floor, they have like so in Asia, right? They have things they call convenience stores. These convenience stores they operate 24/7. Like you can wake up at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and then you are hungry. You can go there and eat food. Imagine anytime they don't close anytime. And guess what? It is safe. Don't South Korea. You don't have to stress that I will be walking down the street. Someone will come and snatch my phone. Someone will steal my those. Like you don't live with that caution in your head. That alert, no warning, no. Your mind is free. There's no crime there. There is like people. Some there they surprise people. There are rich. Eh, like people have a lot of money that they throw away. Like you see this people throw away laptops as if it's nobody's business. Like the school that I used to work for, I remember like this one time we were cleaning, right? We were cleaning that school, and then there were like laptops that were working. So just because they didn't want those laptops, they just threw them away like it was nothing. Imagine, imagine. That's how people are rich, like rich, 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 rich. Those people have money. Like dinners, like I don't know how many dinners I attended in like my school. That like the boss will take us out for dinners. You will eat, drink. You don't pay nothing. 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 Like a cashier in South Korea gets how much? A cashier, a mere cashier. Someone who works as a cashier in ShopRite and Pick and Pay. They get paid 40,000. Up, 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 up. Myself as a teacher, I'll get like we get like 30,000, like the 30,000. That's how much we will get. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It is a lot of money. I wish like you guys could experience South Korea. If you have like a degree, especially if you have anything, a degree in education, in law, because I studied law, I went there with my law degree, law, whatever, whatever, whatever. You should take that opportunity 1 year and go and live there and experience what it means to live in a functioning country. That's why people don't protest there because their government delivers. He said it will take us 50 years to reach the level of China. It will even take us eternity. We might never even live to see that day. No, African people, like African leaders, like, I don't know, like they're the worst being ever. Like those people, like when you live like in, let's say, Asian countries. I've never lived in Europe, so I don't know how Europe is like. I lived in Asia. And I'd be like, yo, like I will always say this, right? There is no government that is not corrupt. And I feel like this is the misunderstanding that maybe some people have like, oh, Europe is developed, the governments are not corrupt. No, they are corrupt. Asian countries are also corrupt. But when it comes to service delivery, they deliver. I think that is better. I feel like it will be better if ANC was corrupt and then they gave us all the basic needs, housing, better schools, better hospitals. And I don't think people will protest because like they would have all the necessities. People now are marching because they don't have basic needs anymore. The fact that even to get a job is a struggle in South Africa is crazy. Or even if you do get a job, you cannot afford to live to pay rent. For me, it's crazy. That one is crazy. Yeah, you can get a job now, but you cannot afford to pay rent. I worked at UJ before I left South Africa. He said everyone is corrupt. That's true. Everyone is corrupt, but they are not too obvious. Yet there's still billions in broad daylight. No, they do. No, they do. It's crazy. Like our black people are crazy. Like our black people are insane. Like no, black people are crazy. Seriously, like nothing makes sense to me. Like when I think about like black leaders, literally nothing. No, seriously, like African leaders are the worst like beings ever. Like seriously, No, it like nothing makes sense. Like what I've seen in South Korea, guys, I don't want to lie to you. Like I was like, yo, I wish this was my country. I don't want to lie. Like South Korea is mwah. Like I think in South Korea they don't have things like Uber and Bolt. No, 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 no. Asians don't do that. And I learned this. I'm like, that's why these people are so good, you know. Asians, they don't do like the American companies. They have an American company if they need it. They don't have American companies that they don't need there. For example, like e-hailing. There's no American e-hailing that is bigger than Asian e-hailing in Asia. I'm telling you, in Thailand, they use Grab. They have Grab is like it's a Singaporean e-hailing. It's a Singapore because like you can use Grab in Singapore, you can use Grab in Thailand, you can use Grab in Malaysia because I went to Malaysia this one time. That's that was the first time I used Grab. Grab Malaysia. So it is used there. Grab. They don't have Bolt and Ubers, those things. No, 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 no. Grab. South Korea, they have their own special. It's called Kakao Taxi. It's Korean. Kakao Taxi. It is safe as a motherfucker because the driver is Korean. You'll never be driven by a foreigner where you don't know if you are going to make it to your destination alive or dead, like the things you see in South Africa. They've got principality. I do agree with you on that one. I do. I do. They have Kakao taxi in South Korea. And they also use their cars. It's Hyundai. Hyundai is a Korean car. Hyundai. That taxi, the Kakao taxi in South Korea, they use their own car, not even foreign cars, their own Hyundai will come and pick you and drop you to a destination and come and bring you. They use their own things there, no foreign things. And like I said, unless it's necessary, you can bring foreign companies, foreign goods if it's necessary. But this is Africa. In Africa, you have everything that is Western. Even if this thing is unnecessary, you say this is sunlight here. That is sunlight over there. I lived in South Korea for like over a year. I don't remember seeing sunlight there. I don't remember seeing Omo. This sunlight, these are not South African products. Protex, not South African products. Omo, da 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 da. These are not South African things. They're all foreign companies. They're not South African. And you wonder why the African people are poor because we use things that we are not. Everything is either it's either manufactured here, but it's not your product or it is important. And you know, I was even surprised the other day. I saw in the news they say South Africa blocked American chickens. I'm like, are you telling me all these years South Africa has been importing chickens from the United States? We don't have chickens in South Africa that they have to import chickens from another country. Just like make that make sense. That's how corrupt South Africa is. Like they are so corrupt. These people, ooh, you don't even know what to do with them. Like they are corrupt. Like I wish we could have like some sort of like Asian government. Like Asian people are very good. Shame. Those people are very good. Like they say, like they have things that make living better. They have like another thing called kupang. Like kupang is kupang in South Korea. In South Korea, people they don't have to go like to ShopRite, Pick and Pay to buy like grocery and like they have to carry heavy things with you. No, they have like their own e-commerce app. You go there, you can buy grocery, and guess what? Because there, you know, you people drink like bottled water. You can order like your whole monthly grocery from that application, right? Let me tell you, baby, if it's frozen food, they will package it in such a way that you'll feel like you're a celebrity. And they will leave the food outside your door. You can leave that food outside your door for a week. No one will steal it. No one will take your food. Nobody. Nobody. They deliver things outside your door. Your door. There. You just open the door, you take your grocery, and then you unpack. Like, that's how people live there. Do you think if you lived in that kind of an environment, you see people complaining and protesting? Of course not. I've lived there for years. I've never seen Koreans protest. Never. Unless, except for like this one issue. There was like this one military issue where they had to. You see how developed that country is. That's a good thing. That's when South Africa will even, I feel like this is a good, Donald Trump's administration banned HIV supply. So this is a blessing in disguise, because let me tell you something. Now South Africa can start with the cure for HIV, because the cure is there, but because of, those, we cannot say those things. The cure is always, uh I don't know, they kind of make it disappear somehow. You know how they do it. So now, if the USA right now they ban South Africa from accessing their HIV supplies, it will give South Africa leverage to now start, getting that cure done. Because I do remember I once read an article where they say South Africa was working on like the cure for HIV. It's a good calling. Also, like, HIV is not like a deadly virus. It's not deadly. You just need to eat healthy food. Like, if you're HIV positive, eat healthy food, you'll be okay. That's what I'm saying. Like, these big pharmacies. But yeah, when you said it will take Africa 50 years to really, really develop, I agree with you. Because, yeah, yeah, I don't know. We need like a leader who is going to say no. I don't know. We need like I don't want to say what I'm about to say. I'm just gonna skip it in my head. But we do need someone. Yes, we do need someone who truly understand. I mean, let me give an example with China, right? You know what China did? China is very smart. You know what China did? What China did was that it kept quiet, because the propaganda, the Western propaganda against China, that China do this, China that, China this, China that, China that, China that. Maybe we need AI. We do. So what China did was very, very smart. Very smart. You know, what China did is very, China silently, in the past, I would say in the past 10 years, right? China silently built the strongest military in the world, because China is very smart. They understand like how geopolitics works, and it's either like you're blind or you're just denial. Geopolitics work in this way: the country with the strongest military dictates what happens in the world, and that is a fact, whether you like it or not. That is a fact. That is why the USA in the past years, it was able to sanction any country that it wanted. Do you know why? Because the USA has, like, for a decade, has had like the strongest military in the world for decades. It had like this, but not today. Today, no. Today, it's no. USA doesn't no longer holds the it is not all the first spot of like the strongest military in the world. That position has been replaced by China. America has over 700 military bases around the world. America, okay, ever since the Middle East war began, they did the United States did withdraw some of its troops in other parts of the world. They did that. They did that. And in the Middle East today, as we speak, their influence is no longer felt. Whether people want to admit or not, their influence is no longer felt. Yeah, but then it's more like the same thing, because like if you don't have troops, that means like who is occupying the bases? It's more like leaving a house, you abandon the house because there's nobody in the house. They pulled out their troops, they pulled out also the military. They pulled out the troops, they also pulled out the armaments, the military armaments. They took those what do they call them? Those air defense, I forgot what they call them, from South Korea. And besides that, that's what I'm saying. Like when it comes to geopolitics, right? It's a little bit complex, but not complex, because another issue was that the debt, the U.S. Debt exceeded its national GDP. That is problematic. It shows that the country is really, really struggling. It is really struggling financially, financially. So not, it is not yet like a dead country. It is still a powerful country, but you cannot deny that its military has deteriorated. You cannot deny that its currency has lost, like it doesn't hold the same power that it held in the past. But then other, that is true. In the Middle East, America sacrificed the Gulf states to protect Israel while they fought Iran. So yes, America is changing. Yes, and I feel like one thing I like about the United States right now is that I've seen like many Americans waking up to to the reality of what's happening in their country, because in the past people didn't understand what was happening, you know? Like it was like, oh, pro Israel, oh, pro Israel. Now there is no longer pro Israel there. It's like we don't want IPEC. We don't want IPEC. We don't want IPEC. You see, it is changing. But for me, like I don't have any issue with the United States being the strongest country. The only thing that I have an issue with is like the this generational leadership that they have, that always, bully other countries. That's the only thing I don't like about the, because it's generational. If you try to study about their presidential history, all the presidents in that country has attacked other countries for whatever reason may be. All of them. Now, when it comes to the military, I would say the United States no longer hold the power. It doesn't. That's why you see now they are very fixated with taking or stopping those Iranian ballistic missiles. Because why would they care about those Iranian missiles? By the way, it shows that those missiles are powerful than theirs. And they have been pushing the, I don't know if it's true, because like it has not been proven, right? Because they've been saying like, oh, China is supplying Iran with military armaments, but no one has confirmed that. They've been saying that, we don't know. So if they are scared about that being true, that means they are scared of China. Because if they were that powerful, I don't think they would care that China is supplying Iran with the armaments, for the fact that like it bothered them, that they said it over and over and over and over and over in different interviews, that China is, and it's not proven. We don't know if that is true or not. There is no evidence that shows that China has supplied Iran with the armaments. We don't know. No, those people have underestimated China. They did. China has built like China's military is very strong today. Yeah, but it stopped, right? They stopped, right? Because there was a cease. Recently, recently they announced. Oh, no, 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 no. Right now, they're in the process of they signed the online MOU, like agreement to stop like this conflict between the two. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it will stop. Maybe, maybe, maybe. Because do you know what's funny about what happened in the Middle East? I mean, that is a possibility, but from where I'm sitting now is that because Trump made had an interview like last week or so, like recently. He says something like, if for example, Israel is targeting Hezbollah, there is no reason for Israel to demolish the southern Lebanon infrastructure, because by doing so, you are displacing people. You are that those words came from Trump's mouth. I was also surprised when he said that. I'm like, if Trump say that, that means maybe he's aware that no, is this is not what maybe we thought it was. Because I don't know, maybe he thought what many people have thought in the previous years, that Israel is a targeted state, and Hezbollah and the Hamas are the problem. So him saying that, because in the last interview that I saw him, I listened to Trump. He said something like that, that um, you know, Israel was supposed to be done or finished with the issue with Hezbollah a long time ago. And but then it doesn't make, like, for him, this was Trump, like it's illogical that, like, you are saying you are trying to, like, deal with Hezbollah, but then you are distracting, like, residential infra, which is true, because they have been destroying residential infrastructure in the southern Lebanon. And then it's unfair because you're displacing people from their homes and traumatizing children and people, killing innocent people. Because you cannot say now every Lebanon or Lebanese is it's a Hezbollah. I mean, that is true. I don't know. I don't know. For me, I thought maybe, like, I don't know, because I just read a post today that the UN finally finally finalized that what Israel has been doing to Gaza is genocide. I don't know if that is true, because people nowadays they just lie. I know that it was an ongoing case. The UN was still trying to gather some information to conclude that what Israel is doing to Gaza is a genocide. But today I just read in the news that the UN just declared that what Israel is doing in Gaza is genocide. I don't know if that is true or not. So it's like, when you read posts from social media, don't always don't always like take them as facts, because people they do lie a lot. But the fact that it was an ongoing case, it is an ongoing case, of course, but it was not yet finalized that it's genocide. If they did, then it's new. So we don't know. So as for Trump, for me, it's very interesting. For me, it's like I don't get it. Like, geopolitics are very unfair, especially like anything that involves the West. To be honest, is quite. It's not right. It is really not right, because it's not right. There, you see, like that's what I'm saying. I always give reference with China. Look at countries like China, right? They are trying to bring back the like Taiwan, right, to the mainland, right? Because if you read the history of China and Taiwan, people who know, they know that it used to be like one thing, right? Like that island used to be part of China, for example. But then the Western media, like I don't know, they push their own agenda that, oh, China is trying So I don't know, still the land, because it's their land. It's like it's the same with us. Like was it Robert Island? That island, even though it was used to Robert Island, even though it was used during apartheid as a, as a prison for comrades, it is still a South African island. And let's say, for example, let's say some people someday they wake up and then they take that island, and then they say, oh, now this is our state. Does that mean like it is no longer a South African island? No, it will always be a South African island because it's our island. Robert Island is South African island. So historically, the like because of the but like that is not up to them. It's not up to the United States. It's not. I saw one of the contending Taiwanese party, this lady, she went to China not long ago to meet with President Xi Jinping. So if that lady wins the elections, the upcoming elections, she can voluntarily surrender Taiwan to China without even China getting into like a battlefield with Taiwan. So that's a possibility. So China won't have a say to that if like the lady says, put it in writing that, you know what, now the mainland is back to China. They won't do anything. There is nothing they can do, honestly. It's not up to them. It's up to the Taiwanese, their government, what the people want. Because at the end of the day, they are all Chinese. If you are being honest, they are Taiwanese, but they are Chinese because they all speak China. The Taiwanese speak China, so they are one thing. That is the problem. That is that, and it was the USA that taught the world about that. Countries have learned. Yeah, yeah, I know that. Like the countries have learned the United States for years and years and years. Not just the United States, actually, like the West as a whole. They've realized like how the West use military power to manipulate or to dethrone civilizations of other countries and replace it with their own civilizations. So that is something that many countries have noted. That's why you see even North Korea, for example, like they say, you know what, we're gonna get our own nuclear weapons because this is the leverage that these people use to terrorize us. So, but Africa will never have those balls. Never, not Africa. China was also smart. They had their own nuclear weapons. So there is no way the United States will touch China. It's impossible. It's impossible. You saw Donald Trump. You went to see President Xi Jinping a month ago. You saw him; he was so humble. Even when he came, when he came back, because people were looking forward to what the meeting was about, right? I mean, I was also like following that meeting because I wanted to come back home. Because I was in Thailand, so I wanted to come back home, and like the flights were like unpredictable because of the Middle East. Because like the flight from Thailand maybe it has to pass by Doha, and we don't know if like something is happening in Qatar. So it was quite a little bit challenging to travel from Thailand to come back home. So I followed that meeting where Trump went to China because I was hoping that they would have like some sort of like a peaceful conversation, and then they can stop what's happening in the Middle East, and then I can book my flight ticket and come back home without any scratch. You know, I was I was looking forward to that, but then the way it seemed as if like that meeting didn't go according to maybe what the US administration had anticipated, because I think the comments that Trump made were that I mean, he kept complimenting President Xi Jinping. I don't even understand why he kept doing that. Like he kept complimenting President Xi Jinping, like, oh, He's a good president. He's a good guy. I know many people don't want to hear me say it, but I will always say it. President Xi Jinping is a good guy. I'm like, why is Trump saying this? It's like, are you stopping the war in the Middle East, sir? I don't want to hear you I mean, yes, you can compliment President Xi Jinping, is okay, but I'm like, what was the topic about? And then out of the blue, President Trump say, President Xi Jinping said, you know, the US is declining. The US is declining. And do you know who's to blame? Sleepy Biden. Yes. He will he says Sleepy Biden is to blame for the decline. So I don't know. We don't want uh for me, like, personal, so I don't wish for, like, because here's the thing, right? If like a country collapse, the people will migrate and cause like a burden for other states. The idea is not to have the US collapse. The idea is for the US to have a different governance that doesn't use its power to manipulate other countries. I feel like that's my own mind. Like, I wish they could have like a different leadership that, it's like you are comfortable in your power and what you possess, without feeling intimidated by other countries that also try to develop themselves. Because with them, it's always like, if another country try to like catch up, it's like it's an enemy. If a country try to catch up, it's an enemy. And that's not a good way, because that's how we end up having wars. We end up like destabilizing countries. We have these problems here in Africa, especially Africa is the country. I mean, Africa is the continent that is always affected by all these Western decisions. It's not nice. It's not nice. Even my life was about South Africa and Nigeria. What about India? India, what about India? Hello, Kevin Coupe. What about India? India, India, I think about India like Ukraine, right? Like, first thing foremost, let's just admit it, that India is the most intelligent people. Like, Indians are very, very intelligent. Like, those people that are very smart when it comes to like coding. The nuclear. Remember, India is a puppet of the US. I don't know. I'm sorry I had to say it. I'm sorry I had to say it. Yeah, India's control. I mean, India stopped buying oil from Russia because the US ordered them to do so. And then when the Middle East issue broke, and then the US gave them like a heads on, like, oh, go and buy. Then they went and buy the oil from Russia. So it's more like all their decisions are taken by like another state. Doesn't make sense to me. Because remember, one of the main reason, you ask yourself, why did China decide to start buying oil from Iran even after the US sanctioned Iran? Why? Ask yourself that question. Why? Why did China? Because the oil in Iran was cheap, very, very cheap. So why would India leave cheap? The oil in Russia was cheap, but then they left cheap oil for expensive oil, because why? They don't determine their foreign policies. The US is in charge. That's the problem. When you have corrupt leaders, it's the same thing with Africa. I mean, I do admit that African leaders are just fronts. They don't really control or determine what must happen with our continent. They don't. That's the unfortunate part. And that's our reality. That's why we're always behind. Like I said, people are talking about AI, talking about innovations. The skyscrapers that you'll see in Asian countries, the money system, financial system, development, fintechs, literally everything. Those things are happening. They are no longer like fiction. But we're not having that conversation in Africa. In fact, like in Nigeria, we're still waking up to news that school girls have been kidnapped by Boko Haram. Here in South Africa, you cannot walk in the streets, play with your phone freely, some crazy guy will come and just snatch it away from you. Like, who snatches people's phone? Like, you see, that's where we are. We're still like worried about petty crimes. In other countries, they're far beyond those nonsense of petty crimes and terrorists. The reality. And I want to say something right about the West, and because I have like Western friends, right? The sad thing about the West, before I finish, right? The sad thing about the West is that it's the leaders who do these bad things, not like the people. I have English friends. I have one of my best friends is from England, and it's very sad that the ordinary West people, they have to feel guilty for the decisions that are taken by their leaders, because when it comes to, let's say, the US bombing Minab and killing those children in Minab, that decision wasn't taken by like ordinary American people. They have nothing to do with that. It's their leaders who are to blame for like these things. But because it's like the American thing, so people, they be like, oh, it's America, oh, it's like England, oh, it's their leaders, it's not the people. It's that, because like, when I was in Thailand, like with my English friends, for example, we would have these kind of conversations, and like it is saddening, because you have to carry the guilt of something that you did not do. It's not nice. And they also get blamed sometimes or looked differently for things that they didn't agree upon, things that were done by their leaders. Yeah, South Africa does need a dictator. Ah, they were buying crude oil. I heard like that. They say like this crude oil is very, very. I forgot the term. Like these terminologies that they use, like when they talk about war, are not quite easy to remember. Cause like I've learned, like they said, like there are different types of oil. There is the oil, the Iranian one. They say which is easy to, I don't know, to make or whatever, and then to refine or refine, it is easy to refine. And then there is like the Venezuela one, which is like crude oil. They say it's a little bit like difficult to refine. Then we have the one from those Arabic countries, which is like not the same but similar to the Iranian ones. And then we have the Nigeria's crude also, which is, but then because they have been doing it for years in Nigeria, they have a lot of refineries there. It's easy to refine the crude oil. So Nigeria is doing well in terms of oil. I've even seen like the statistics yesterday when they say countries with like expensive gases right now. Nigeria was not on the list. South Africa was there and many other African countries, but Nigeria wasn't there. So right now, gas is cheaper in Nigeria than it is in South Africa. What's going on in Venezuela? In Venezuela, the president of Venezuela was abducted by the United States a few months ago. He's still in a prison in the United States. And recently there's been like I think an earthquake in Venezuela. Rest in peace to the people who got killed there. It was I try I couldn't watch the video. Oh, like I saw like this lady crying that she had lost like her twins. Imagine like a family. It was tragic. It just happened I think yesterday. Condolences to like the Venezuela's shame. That was a tragic situation. Yeah, I wish that can stop. Like the United States need like a different president who's going to be a little bit strategic with global issues and stop causing wars and destabilizing countries across the globe unnecessarily. Yeah, I know that. But anyways, guys, thank you for entertaining me and talking about geopolitics. Let's just hope like maybe the future world leaders will be like a little bit sympathetic and not care about money and then share these minerals, because nobody owns these minerals. These are just natural things, they can just come to terms and trade fairly and develop, help one another and stop murdering each other. I do want to live in a South Africa that is like South Korea, and I mean it wholeheartedly. Thank you. Bye bye, guys. Thank you, Dibaza and Kevin. Thank you very much. Bye bye.